Hi, my name is Dean Brown. I am the designer of Spruance Leader, a game that's in development for DVG. And I wanted to show one of my campaign maps. Basically, this is would be a carrier task force mission. So I have a North Atlantic Carrier War campaign where I have a bunch of a setup for on the map. So some fighter bases with fighters, some bomber bases with bombers, and search aircraft. Here's the enemy army. They've invaded into Finland and Sweden. They have a blockading naval task force here with mines set up, and then and all of these were set up for the mission. But this would be the base setup for the campaign. So the objective of the campaign is to get is to land 3 troop ships and 3 cargo ships into Hex I-4 as quickly as possible. So here is Hex I-4, and you can see that it has a minefield coverage. There's fighter aircraft coverage over this area, and then of course there's search and bomber aircraft that covers the approach area, and then there's various task forces that are deployed randomly at the beginning of each mission out there. So you get for the campaign, you get 120 SO points to set up and set up your task force. You do start off with the Enterprise at average skill level, and then you have 30 SO points for every mission. So unlike the normal victory point evaluation for the majority of the Leader Series games, this one's a little different in that you want to try to get those troop ships and cargo ships landed as quickly as possible. So this basically indicates how many turns it takes to do that. This is probably way off. I need to run through some sample missions to determine what the right evaluation criteria is. But basically, getting your troop ships and cargo ships so you can run these 3 at a time in the task force. Also on the campaign is the activity track and the task force track. Task force track basically determines how many random task forces are placed on the map. You basically roll d10 and find the space and place a task force counter there. So as you destroy targets that have task force on them, this track would go down, so you'd have fewer task forces to deal with. And also there's an activity track, and the activity track is whenever you have an encounter, it determines there's a modifier for the activity level. So the higher your die roll, you have a high activity level, a low activity level, and no activity level. So you can see starting off that you're probably going to be running into a lot of high activity task forces whenever you have your random encounters. So there's a couple of things. One is you have a list of targets in the campaign that you put in a target deck, and they have turns, start, and ends, and how they move on, how they move on the map. And then you have some missions that you can run where you clear mines. You can attack the air bases with TLAMs. You can attack the naval blockade ships, or you could do your escort of your troops and ships to Hex I-4. So basically what you would do is you would draw a target, and I drew so ASW forces here, so you can see that there's a task force value of 1 for here. So if I destroy this target, and if I choose to go after it, then a task force track would go down by 1. So I can either execute this target or do one of the default missions on here. So I decided I'm going to go after the naval blockade target, which is target 15. And it consists of these enemy ships and sub. So I have to destroy all the blockading ships here. So I'm going to put my naval task force here on I-4. So that's the hex that I need to attack. So I start off my task force at my task force base. A couple of things to start off with is one, I determine my MCON level, my missions control. So it can either be at sea, which means I have all of my sensors on and I'm searching for enemy task force and aircraft. Remember, bombers and fighters, once they get closer, can attack. And then MCON A, which means that I'm silent, all of my missions are off. And then there's consequences for doing that. So one of the key consequences is if I'm at MCON C, my detection level's automatically at 2. So moving around, and as search aircraft are approaching, they get a modifier for my current detection level, which would be +2. And as these task forces come up alongside in an adjacent hex, they get a +2 modifier on the task force. So if I rolled basically a 3 or higher, then that they would detect my task force and my detection level would jump up to 3. And at 3 or higher, then all of the task forces that are in the vicinity would head directly towards my task force and not follow their random course. This was here. So I'm not going to actually show a detailed encounter here with my task force, but I do have an encounter deck. So when I do detect one of those task forces with my AEW aircraft, I would pull one of the encounter cards and determine what the activity level is, and then based on the level of detection, what type of task force it is. All right, one other thing is there are satellite checks, enemy satellites flying overhead on a couple of my mission turns. So I rolled a die, and first satellite's going to come overhead at 6. So it's going to come down this track here, and if my task force happens to be in line with that track, then the satellite again could detect my task force and then raise my detection level up to 3. So again, detection 9+, if my detection level is 0, but I have the detection level, so the higher my detection level is more likely to be detected on the satellite. One nice thing about the enemy satellites is you always knew when they were coming overhead, so I know on turn 3 that satellite is going to come down here, so I want to make a decision at turn 2 whether I want to move into that satellite track or not. Okay, so just going to follow the process here. So at the start of turn 1, so my naval task force is stationary since it's a blockading force. If I did have, for example, if I was doing target 4, then that target would move first, which it doesn't. Now I'm going to roll each of my enemy task forces or move randomly because I haven't been detected. So I roll D10 and then check my enemy movement chart. So I'm going to roll these. 10. So that one actually moves off the map. 4, is this way. 1 here. 4 is this way. And 3 is this way here. Did I get them all? Yes. Okay, and now finally it's my turn to move. Let's see, where's, oh yeah, here. So I'm going to move out here. Oh, I am going to be at MCON A, by the way, so no emissions. The one way that I can reduce your detections after your detection level's gone up is if you're at MCON A, meaning you reduced your emissions and you change direction of your task force, then you can reduce the detection level by 1. All right, so I moved here. So I do have an enemy task force F. Right here on my battle space display. So one question, so now we're tracking task forces on the bigger map and task forces on the display. So, one question would be, is it worth having this display, or should you just use the map to determine the task forces and where they're located? Only task forces that are within range of your battle force display can be detected and attacked by my aircraft. Oh yeah, real quick, here's my carrier. I have 4 squadrons, a fighter squadron, a strike squadron, an attack squadron, and my AEW squadron. So squadrons, fighter, strike, and attack squadrons are 12 planes. So I have 3 4-ship counters here, 3 4-ship counters here, 3 4-ship counters here. My AEWs, I only have 4 planes. And as they take damage, then they get reduced down. So you can see this side has 2, and my stats are a little bit worse. So at average, I could have had 5 squadrons. I used some of my SO points because you have to purchase these for ordnance, and then I can launch 3 of my counters per turn. All right, so I moved here. Okay, that would be the end of turn 1. So again, stationary forces don't move. So now I'm going to roll. Roll for my task force movement. 6 here. 1. So now I got 2 task forces. 5 here. And 10. So that one slides over here. So now I have the Naval Force C and F. So F is here and C is here. Again, right now I have them as high activity, but that could change based on my activity roll. All right, now I'm going to move up here, which means that these things slide down. End of mission turn, satellite comes down here, and I'm not in line, so that's good. So now I'll roll for the next satellite, and it is a 1, so that's going to be way over here, which is likely not going to get in my way. All right. So I could put up my AEW squadrons let me think about that. Yeah, just for fun, let's launch one of my AEW squadrons here. And I'll fly out and attempt to detect Task Force C. So I rolled a 9. And that is on the, I used the dark blue because that's a naval force. Light blue is aircraft. So I detected that at detection level 2. So I'll go over here and pull a card off of my deck. Alright, so I roll my die for detection. I rolled a 7 plus the 3 here, 10. Yeah, so that's definitely a high encounter. You can see here that the air defense value is -3, which is not good because that's the modifier on my bomber attacks. It's how many hit points it would take to get it down to a low level, or reduce the activity level by 1 and reduce the activity level by 2. And I will get 5 VPs for that. So this is a carrier task force. So if it detects my task force, then I have potential of getting attacked. And that was, what was that, Task Force C. So Task Force C is high. Alright, and then I'll swing over here, and I roll a 3, which means that he's not detected. So I have one task force detected. It's a carrier force. So that's something I want to keep an eye on. So I can next turn choose to attack it, but remember the air defense value is -3. And then I'll land this. One other thing to note is if I had rolled a 1 for my detection roll, then I would have lost an aircraft or lost a step, so I would have flipped over the counter to 1. So luckily that didn't happen. We're in a shooting war over the ocean, so there's always a chance that something's going to happen to some aircraft. All right, let's put that back. All right, so now we'll go up to 3, no satellite. So now let's roll for our movements. 3. Actually, 3's here, 4's here. 10 this way. 5 is, I think I would know this by now. All right, now comes the important rolls. 9. All right, so that one's moving up there, which is good. And 2, which is down here. So he is down here. This one's up here. All right, so I don't want a task force getting beside me because then there's a chance of detection. But I know I want to stay away from this one. So I'm going to go this way and hope that he doesn't roll a 9, which doesn't seem likely. All right, so that means he's here and he's here. All right, just for fun, since I'm doing a demo or a session, let's create a package of 2 of these, and remember he's got a flanker. Let me see. do have a flanker somewhere on here. Yeah. So he's got a flanker here that he could launch. So I'm going to assume that that's going to get launched. It's part of I still need to work on how carrier forces work, but I need to update this to show that it has a flanker flying cap. So I'm going to put my my 2 intruders, and then I will send a fighter with it. Let's call that air package 1. All right. So we are going to, there's some risk here because I have a 0 here, but I subtract 3 from all my attack die rolls. So there's a risk that I'm going to lose some of my A6s. But let's see what happens. So let's fly out here. And then fly here. All right, so first let's resolve this, because if there's any of these flankers left, then I got a bigger problem with my intruders. So, oops, sorry, this would be side 4. So he's fast, 4-8. So 4, 5, or 6, 4, 5, 6, or 7 would reduce him by 1 level, and 8, 9, 10 would reduce it 2 levels, which means he would be destroyed. So, geez, look at that. So I rolled a 10, which means he's gone. Nice. So that was good. And now I'm going to roll with my two A6s. Remember, -3 air defense. I need 4 hits to reduce it to low. So I'm going to roll my first die. It's a 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's no hits. And then my second one is a 2. 2 minus 3 is -1. So he suffers a loss. So these are going to land back here. So I've lost 2 intruders, and I did 0 damage to this task force out here. Not good. So let's put these back here. Could have, once my carrier levels up to the next high skill level, then I would probably be able to launch all 3 of my intruders. Hopefully would have done a little more damage. But that's, yeah, not good. All right. So again, let's roll 2 down, 2 down. You can see they're starting to converge on me. 7. So he's coming back here. 10. So I got 2 of them here in the same spot. Here comes the big one. 7. Oops, I forgot to roll to see if he detected me, didn't I? Oh, I guess he's... yeah, should have done that first. So let me do that. Roll a 2, so he didn't. And then I rolled a 7, so he's going to come over here. So F... I now have E and C here. And then B is beyond that there. And A is, yeah, A is on there, isn't it? Here. All right, again, feedback, does this make sense or not, having a separate display other than the map? I like it because it's reminiscent of you know, the displays that they've managed in the carrier, in the intel room, situational awareness, COP, common operating picture, that type of thing. Okay. So let's see. Am I in range? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm still not in range of search aircraft or bombers. I'm going to move here, which slides all these over. 1, A's out, F is here. Yeah, so I want to get a good look at him. So I'm going to launch. He's one of my launches here to send up my thing. I rolled a 6. So that means I do get to pull an encounter card for him. And I roll for the activity level, and I rolled a 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's a low. So F is low. I know that he's a surface force. All right. Let me see, what did I do with my SW here? So let's just swing over here and figure out what C and E are. Oh, I know what C is. Let's check out E. I roll a 10. So that's another encounter. And roll 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's a low. And again, surface, but you can see the air defense is not too bad. So that was what, C? C. So C is low. And oh, C. I'm sorry, that was E. C is high. E is low. All right, so I have 3 task forces that I'm tracking. One I know I don't want to mess with. And I guess let's go shoot out and check for B. Again, every time I run to do a detection, there's a chance I'm going to lose one. Roll a 6. So I do detect B, and okay, and I roll a 8, so that he's high. So B's high. Submarines, so yeah, so I could have, I only do 1 detection level here. I just know that there's subs there. So I can send, so yeah, I could send my P3 Orion after it next turn. So we can do that. Again, all this is prototype. I'm still working through the rules. But I'm going to go here and turn. So that slides him over. He's over here now, which means he has to roll an 8. So it's good having them at the bottom because most of them are most of the time they're going to slide down. All right, 2, 2, 4, and boy, and let's roll. I rolled a 4. Nice. So he didn't detect me. Boy, I'm really getting squeezed there. 5. So he moves here. So E, C, E, B, F is down here now. 2. So now D is in there. All right, did I do that right? D, C, E, B, F. All right. Well, now I'm really hemmed in. Oh yeah, let me check for detection on him. Rolled A4 again. So he didn't detect me. And I don't know what D is, do I? I didn't actually try to detect him. All right, so let's just, I'm going to end this pretty soon, but just for, oh, I don't have an ASW force, do I? So I can't do that against the submarines. Okay. So I'm going to stop there. I guess I haven't been moving my timer counter, but basically that's how the campaign map is going to work with the aircraft. You can see that I'm in a pretty tight bind there. If I get detected, then my detection level is going to go to 3, which means all of these task forces that are on this hex display are going to head right towards me, which is not going to be good for my mission. So just a quick reminder that these two tracks are basically defining what my encounters are while I'm at sea. So I do want to think about taking out targets that are going to reduce these tracks pretty significantly, so that when I have my cargo ships and troop ships on here, I won't be running into a whole big mess like this. So just a quick recap: if I am at MCON A, my missile defense modifier is +4. This is how I reduce it. I mentioned that. Enemy engagements, the highest when I am actually on the battle board tactical display. If I stay at MCON A, the highest detection level that I can ever get is 1. They attack with a missile defense modifier +4. The detection modifier for them to detect my ships is -2 at greater than range 4. And it takes me 1 mission turn to transition to MCON C. So over here, I'd be at MCON A for a turn. And if you get some pretty bad Soviet surface ships with a missile defense modifier +4, they could take out a ship before you could blink, which has happened on my last encounter. So again, one of the things that you want to remember setting your MCON level is what's going to happen when you get attacked. And then of course, as I get in range of the bombers and search bombers, then they're going to come screaming in, and I'm not going to be able to detect them as quickly either. All right, so that's the first couple of turns of my mission. Again, feedback is welcome. Thanks to everyone for suggestions on the squadrons versus pilots. So I think Tony Graham was the one that mentioned dividing these up into multiple counters, and that seems to have worked out pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with that. So thanks, Tony. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.